One of the most important things in quality of life, functional fitness, is to wake up in the morning and not have pain. When you could say, thank you, Hashem, nothing hurts. My knees feel fine. My ankles feel fine. My lower back feels fine. My lower back, that's really important because we're talking about the pivot of the upper body and the lower body. The back pivot is the lower back. The front pivot is the core. And so what we want to talk about now is how to directly improve the quality of life for no matter who you are, man, woman, 20 years old, 90 years old, by learning how to take care of that lower back.
Yeah, and this is something that I know personally. At the age of 19, I didn't listen to my coach. I read an article for research saying if you draw your stomach in, it's good. I had some weight on the bar during my warm-up set. I actually herniated a disc, and then it flared up again. I was 23 as a cyclist. I also have something going on in my hip and back pain that kept me off the bike. And I'm a cycling coach and a strength coach. So I'm off the bike. I'm out of the gym for my own for 3.5 years with back pain. And that led me to learn about it. So what we're going to talk is what I learned on my own journey and now help people with as well as a BackFit Pro certified professional. And a lot of it, people are amazed is when you start doing these things in your daily routine, like you showed me what you do in the morning. These are the types of things, it takes you 5 minutes and a little bit of thought for about 2 or 3 weeks. And once they become habit, it really can change your life. I mean, it really does.
And even little changes. If you talk about a soldier, especially an infantry soldier, depending on how you tie that backpack, and they're going to do kilometers and kilometers of walking with that backpack. If you tie that backpack a little bit higher and know how to walk, you're going to avoid that backpack. And people schlep things on their back. And this is so important that we got to learn. So let's pay attention. And this is going to improve the quality of life. B'ezrat Hashem.
Yeah, small things. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to find what's called essentially muscle quiet. And that is just a standing position where nothing in your body is working. Now, one of the things you commented before we hit record here is how you went from the regular shoes to a zero lift shoe. And that really significantly changed your knee pain. Is that correct?
That's certainly. I wear my shoes, the shoes I wear, barefoot shoes like Lems or like Merrell's, or like Vivo. What they do is it's as if I'm walking barefoot. So it forces my feet muscles to develop, and I'm not depending on cushioning. So I have to use them. When the feet muscles develop, they properly move the calves and the quads and the hamstrings and the whole muscle work, and there's less knee pain. Because the muscles are doing the work and the joints are not doing the work. This is what we do. We want to take the pressure off the joints. When the muscles are working properly, then the joints, they're along for the ride.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan for everybody in zero lift shoe, but he found what works for him. And that's the most important thing is that you went out and found what worked for you.
And tell him how old I am.
72. I mean, that's... Now, here's the thing is as we go through this, even at 72, especially after you're 30, 35, that's when those habits that you've had up until that point catch up to you. And that's where people, it just happens with age. It doesn't have to. No. So what we're going to look at is a couple simple things. Let's start with quiet zero first. Let's actually have you face me. And what I'd like for you to do is to find, put the thumb on the lower back where the muscle is. And we're just going to start by poking the chin forward until you feel those muscles turn on, and then bringing the chin back until you feel them turn off.
Okay.
And this is something you guys at home, stop the video for a second while Rabbi's doing this and find that
here,
as well.
Here I feel the muscle.
Okay, so let's go to zero. Okay, now at zero, what I'd like for you to do is put your hands to the side. And all you're going to do is you're going to gently, keeping the heels on the ground, rock forward with the feet flat and then move back. And find where the point where you're at zero, where you're not working at all.
Zero.
Okay, now take 3 deep breaths in through the nose. And try and fill 360 degrees. You'll notice that he's right now coming into the stomach and a little bit of shoulders. I want you to breathe in through the midsection. Okay, try and fill my thumbs. There you go. Good. Now, as you get older, what will happen is if you've lived a life as Lazer has, you're going to have different things not move. And what we want to try and do is recognize those and still get air into the other areas. So as you're going through, I felt that you were moving your shoulders a lot. If we can, let's just try swinging the shoulders, the arms from the shoulders. Just let them relax. Carry zero tension. And when you feel, just let them come to a dead stop, nice and naturally. And then we're going to try the breathing again and see how that looks. So what I'm looking for here is to find where Rabbi's able to come through and expand. There we go. That's better. So on one side, it's still a little bit tight, but you'll notice that his shoulders aren't coming up and into his ears anymore. Now, this is where we want to start our day. Now, I've got a young kid at home, a lot of parents out there, a lot of people jump out of bed. This is where taking literally 10 seconds, you're now, instead of reacting to the day and the alarm going off and, oh no, I have to do this, you're taking 15 seconds, feeling your body, focusing. And this is also great after a long day of work as well. Now, from here, we can do a lot of different things, but the main thing for back pain is learning how to hinge through the hips. So what we're gonna try is just a potty squat, we'll call it. We're gonna take the hands, put them into an L as if it's a crotch. We're gonna put them right onto the tops of the thighs. And what I'd like for you to do is just slide your hands down, keeping your back straight, and then pull the hips through. There you go. Let's go for a set of 5 or 10. Now, this is a simple shortcut on how to deadlift. I've had a number of back pain patients come to me and say, oh, I can't deadlift, it hurts my back. Well, what happens is they're moving from the wrong area. And you'll see this is a pretty nice hinge. We see that he does have a little bit of kyphosis, but it's managed very well. As he comes through, his feet are staying nice and flat on the ground. We'll do one more and 0. Now, the great part about this is that let's say we have a little kid at home. Now, it's going to depend. If it's a toddler, it's going to be one thing. What we're doing right now with my son is he's learning how to stand up and getting ready to hopefully walk.
So we pick him up under the arms?
So what we're doing now is saying, okay, if you'd like for me to pick you up, go ahead and stand. So we come into a deadlift and we put our hand here. He grabs onto our hands and then we want to bring him in close between the legs, and you're going to push the floor away as you stand, and then from there you can bring him up. Now, a lot of people do exactly. What a lot of people do is they round forward, just as you had with the bag where it's too far. We want to think about the belly button being the center of gravity essentially, and that's where we want to keep the baby as close as we can. Now obviously if the baby's in danger, you're not thinking that. Now this is where the second skill can come in, and that is a little bit of an abdominal brace. So there's a number of ways to teach this. I like to call it shielded breath, but with your martial arts background, we're going to do a lot more fun. So let's give that a shot. We want to find the space between the six-pack, or where the six-pack would be, and the outer muscles. We're going to dig those fingers.
It's the border between the obliques and the six-pack.
Exactly. And we want to dig those fingers in and get nice and loose in the stomach. So everything's hanging out, and then and we're going to push. There you go. Okay, now here's the key. You went from 0 to 100. You just threw a light switch. Let's do a slider. There you go. Okay, now what you've just done is created a 360 abdominal hoop connecting your rib cage and pelvis. So let's try picking up the baby again. So just
like what you've given me as a girdle, a back belt, a support belt.
That nature's made, or God's given back belt. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
So let's try or kya. Good. Hands on the hips, and now I want you to tune the brace. It's just enough. Bend the knees just a little bit. Bring the baby close, right in between your feet. There you go. So we actually want to bring it a little bit further back, but you're strong. So I know that your margin of safety, we can get away with that.
Until okay, but let's do 15, no margin 16. Of safety. Put the baby back on the ground.
Okay, so then a little bit. There you go. Tuning the brace, coming back. Pull the baby right in between the knees. There you go. And then up. Now, the cool thing about this is that in research Dr. McGill did, one of my mentors and someone who's done the most research on the back in the world, a very humble guy, by the way. He's always asking questions. Just fantastic. Sometimes you do need a little bit of momentum. So if the baby's getting bigger, 15, 16 kilos, 30, 35 pounds, we're not going to hurt the baby, but it may be good to bring the baby and get a little bit of a jerk off the ground. Like if you want to bring the baby up quickly, getting a little bit of speed. That's where tuning the brace comes into play. Now, the next part that people tend to mess up, myself included, I did it a couple times this weekend, when you put the baby down. So a lot of us just, we don't think. This is where you can use a little bit of a squat. So take the baby under the arms, squat down, and bring them forward. And
you're reminding me of the same energy that we would do with a kettlebell snatch.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
I had a kettlebell snatch, and the baby, I take the kettlebell snatch, and I take that kettlebell, and a little bit more energy, and snatch it up here.
Exactly.
Okay? So we'll do our cha, we're engaged, we slide down, the baby's a little bit further. Come here, Matan, we bring him in closer, and he's a little bit heavier, he's grown. Okay, here we go.
Yep, exactly. And just make sure that you're bringing the baby up, and so you start a little bit away and you bring them in. So it all is based around the belly button. It's an easy, it's got built-in reference center for lower back safety, if you will. So you can even say it's really closer to the belt level, but we want to make sure that we're keeping enough of a tune. And this is a skill. So I've worked with top-level professional athletes that are, almost world class, and we work on the brace and they have no clue. They've never been told or taught that skill, especially for cyclists and triathletes. We get free power and my back feels so much better. And for moms at home, this makes a big difference, especially if you're nursing, if you're carrying the baby. Dads, if you're coming home from a long day and you were sitting at work, especially true for you as well.
There's one thing, don't let anybody think we're chauvinists. This is where the Pilates women put the pro football players to shame because they know how to utilize that core. Yeah. Where a pro football player might pull his back out by picking up that baby, and the lady that does Pilates 3 times a week, she's going to pick them up perfectly.
So that's an interesting point as well. So picking things up off the floor, Dr. McGill, I say we, but Dr. McGill found that a lot of the motor mistakes happen for back pain when you're trying to pick up very light loads or very heavy loads. It's at the middle. So it's kind of, think of it as a U as opposed to a line. So for many of us, we come home from a long day of work. This is really important because maybe you can deadlift 200 kilos, but you're tired, you've been sitting at a desk, you were driving your car in traffic, and you have this slouch posture. If you're not careful and you don't have enough of a tune in the brace and move from the hips, that can cause a lot of pain and discomfort. Now, one of the other parts, and I think this is the most referable for most of us nowadays, is carrying things. You mentioned the backpack before. That's something I've actually also worked with Special Forces guys and showing them, hey, if you load your backpack a little bit differently and you keep it higher, wow, I feel so much better. I can do 15 kilometers more, no pain. Well, most of us don't think about that. We just throw the stuff in the backpack and we go. How I pack this bag is very specific, and people make fun of me sometimes.
That used to be in the IDF. It was a ritual, the way you pack that bag.
And they do that for a reason.
That's a ritual. That's the whole reason.
So if you're carrying a backpack, if you are walking across flat ground, generally it doesn't matter as much where you're packing stuff. However, if you want to try, again, this is perfectly smooth, no bumps or anything.
Perfect example.
We would pack the heavier stuff a little bit more on top, as long as we're walking on smooth. Now, if we're walking across like a hike, we're going up and down or rough terrain, we would put the heavier stuff towards the bottom. And this changes, again, that reference point of where you are and what you're able to do as you walk and how that's going to affect that level.
In this case, this would have to come up.
This would have to come up. So we want to have it right about here.
Exactly.
Where you are.
Tremendous difference.
Awesome. The last thing is, when you're carrying stuff, it's actually better for your back to split the weight to 2 hands than to carry on one side.
Sure.
When you carry on one side, you have to brace. But
that's so another thing important in the gym is balance. Balance. If a person, the one thing that I like about working with dumbbells rather than weights, a person may think it's a humongous amount of weight, but then we start working out with dumbbells, he feels, wow, he could pick up with his right hand 30% more weight than he can with the left hand. That causes imbalance. An imbalance in the strength of the limbs causes an imbalance in the spine. Now we're back to back pain again. Right. And many people, they don't know where's the back pain come. It's traced because it's a balance between stronger legs, stronger arms, and that's why we want to keep things balanced. That's why that's important. The point that Menachem just brought is really, really important.
Yeah, and we can go on for a very long time. So let's wrap it up for here because we covered a lot. We talked about the neutral, finding zero, and that's really important. A lot of people overlook that, but if you can't get the muscles to turn off, then you don't have a starting point to understand where you need to be posture-wise, and then you can walk from there. Walking with a natural arm swing, not carrying things, is actually one of the best things you can do for your back. It's a natural aid to the lower back. But we also talked about the ability to brace and tune the brace, so keeping the chin tucked, so we can do kya or we can do tss, and then the hinge. Just these 3 skills, and the 4th skill of splitting the weight, that can revolutionize how you feel throughout the day.
And put a smile on your face. Yes. But I got something to put a bigger smile on your face. And I didn't ask Menachem's permission, but our next vid, you see this very fancy gym? And you know how much a membership in a gym costs?
Oh no, I know where you're going with this.
Oh. We're going to show you how you could stay in great shape without a membership in the gym in your own living room, okay? So stick with us. Brody meets Brody, and you'll have a smile on your face. God bless.